Have you fallen down the cottage industry rabbit hole yet? Well, if not, buckle up, Alice, and click on over to the description in the show notes and sign up. Then you can get ready for the most fun induction into the cult of all things yarn and fiber. This will include, but not limited to, free yarn, free ebooks, patterns, coupons, and much more. You don't want to miss out.
You are listening to Crime, Coffee, and Crafts, a podcast featuring two crafty besties who love true crime and a good cup of joe.
Hey, amateur sleuths. I'm Kristen.
And I'm Heidi. For anybody who's watching, Kristen has a R2-D2 French press. It's so cool.
He's amazing.
Seriously, why have I've never even heard of a French press like that?
Oh, it's, for us geeks, nerds.
Pretty cool.
He's difficult to push down.
A little bit.
I haven't used him for a minute.
Well, just go slow. Don't be a He-Man about it.
Yeah, so there he is. Isn't he cute?
Oh, adorable. Definitely will post a picture.
And I won't tell you what's in it yet because it's for later.
Yeah.
But for now, this is my many faces. It's one face.
Boy, coffee.
I love me some coffee.
All right. Coffee is the greatest thing in the world.
It is very lovely.
All right.
So how are you today?
We just asked each other basically the same question. A little, yesterday we had like really gnarly rain.
Ooh.
And thunderstorms. All three of the dogs were shaking. It was kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, they don't do so well with loud weather.
No. Rosie's normally fine. She was literally trembling next to me, like.
Oh, poor baby.
Yeah. But they're all okay.
Good.
How's it down there?
It threatened to storm a couple days, but it never did. It just was like gray, ominous clouds.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I always want to talk about like current events, but then I'm like, this doesn't come out for 2 weeks from recording day, so there's no point. Except I have to bring it up. Holy schmoly. Kristen and I have been messaging back and forth about this corrections. Was she the assistant director? I think
there were several different ranks they were giving her and titles.
Yeah, so, I think she was the assistant director.
Because at first she was a sworn deputy, and then she was just a corrections officer, and then now she's assistant director of the detention facility. So
well, and I think that she was probably all of those things at one point. But she freaking broke somebody out of prison. Y'all.
And then the other thing is, some people say she had a 17-year career, and some people say 25 years.
Well, yeah.
So people got to communicate. Let's get our facts right.
For real.
We gotta, because inquiring minds, amateur sleuths need to know.
We need to know
the real deets. We need to know the real deets.
But yeah. So she is his target age for the people that he has killed.
Correct.
That's Like,
they're like 18 years apart, too. He's 38, she's 56. He clearly used some kind of voodoo to win her over after countless number of people have gone through that facility.
Right.
And now it's so far into her career, she's decided to just
it's weird to me.
give everything up, sell her house.
Yeah. For nothing. And by the way,
I know.
She sold it way under market value.
Because the value was like $208,000 and she sold it for $95,000.
Yeah. Crazy.
What?
Yeah.
And it was her last day of work.
Yeah, she put in her papers for retirement, but they didn't get cleared yet.
I know. So she's not going to get any of that vested time. No retirement, no nothing.
I honestly don't think she's still alive. I think she sold everything, emptied her bank accounts, broke him out, and I think he probably killed her and took her money and ran.
That's exactly what I told you. I felt too. It's just,
yeah.
Why would a man keep her going? Like,
well, that
is already a murderer.
Well, and he was already serving 75-year sentence, and he was on new charges for capital murder.
Right. He had nothing to lose,
really.
Nothing.
But I mean,
so and if you guys don't know, we are talking about what's his? Both their last names are White.
I know they have the same last name, and everybody keeps saying they're not related. But honestly, like, who knows?
What if they are?
What if they are related and they're having like an incestual thing?
Ew.
I mean, ew, but you never know. They probably bonded over their last name and like.
Yeah, her name is Vicky White, and his is.
I think name? Casey. Is his name Casey?
Casey.
Yeah.
Casey White. So strange world.
Yeah.
But who was, I mean, I guess because of her high-ranking status and that she'd been in there, nobody questioned why she was taking him out.
She was their boss, basically, and they didn't
and nobody questioned her activities.
Broke protocol.
Mm-hmm.
And had been visiting him for 2 years while he was at the prison.
Yeah, they had a relationship.
Yeah.
For a couple of years.
It's disturbing. Like, why would you throw all of your life's work away? For a murderer. Like, why?
Because there was some sort of appeal and her confidence got boosted by this young man wanting her.
Yeah.
And
he's 6'9". I've seen different reports. I've seen 6'7" and 6'9", but he's
6'10".
He's fucking tall. That's where I'm giving it.
Yeah. He's tall, so he stands out. But listen, he's guaranteed in Mexico and hiding out. And
so that's the funny thing is they ditched their getaway vehicle north of where they were. They went from Alabama up towards Nashville.
Yeah.
And ditched that car. And they probably were trying to make it look like they went north.
Right. But there was like...
I would go south.
They had several hours.
Mm-hmm. They were way ahead.
On the run. Mm-hmm. So...
Yep.
Before anyone knew anything.
It's grueling.
Yeah. Sorry for, that's our little current events talk.
We got to talk about it. I mean, it's all over the news. And by the time this comes out, hopefully they are caught.
Hopefully we have some sort of update.
Fingers crossed, y'all. I have a new coffee because I went out to lunch with my friend, Meredith.
Yeah.
And she brought me coffee.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. And it's from
Thank you, Meredith.
Yeah. It's a local coffee place, Oakley Artisan Roasters, in Oakley.
Okay.
Ohio, which is like a place in Cincinnati. So let's see. Do they have a website? I'm going to say oakleyartisanroasters.com. because their email is orders@that.com. So
Gotcha.
anyway, it's pretty tasty. Real good. And it's
smells good.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I kept making Ben smell it at the restaurant. And then my craft this week is a top secret thing that I'm still going to share on here anyway, because it's like so close to baby shower that it might be okay. She might not see, and it's not done anyway, but I'm working on baby booties. Look how little it is.
You're so cute.
Itty bitty baby booties.
So adorable. And I love that yarn you're using.
Oh, I have the whole thing right here.
Oh,
it goes through all of the colors.
Goes through all the colors. That's awesome.
So it's
because it started out green, right?
Yeah, and it's kind of a rainbow.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
Hooray for baby booties.
Yay, baby booties.
And babies.
And babies. I'm super excited for this baby.
Yeah.
Very, very exciting. Yeah, and custom made onesies. I should have brought those up here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'll share
They're
them
super cute
later on.
Okay.
The gram, because they're real cute.
Yes.
I don't want her to see it though. Okay. Are you ready?
What you got on your head? No, I want to know what's on your head. What's your head wrap? Yeah, what's your head wrap?
It says, I forget what it says. Oh, Master of My Fate.
It's cute.
It's a hand holding a flower.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. If I could remember where I got it, I would tell you.
It's okay.
I'll find the link. I have several bandanas from them.
Yeah.
They're kind of silky. Thick.
Yeah, it looks like a nice material.
Yeah. They're comfortable. So, are you ready for a really horrible, terrible now that we talked about all the beautiful things?
Yeah, let's get into the evil of the world.
Okay. So this case was recommended to me by one of Ben's employees / friends. Because I think his wife was like friends with one of the detectives who worked this case. And it's obviously local to me.
Right.
Which is kind of funny, but get in your hillbilly mindset.
Okay.
Oh, it's straight hillbilly. This is
Straight the hills have eyes.
The cross country killer, aka the Casanova killer, aka Glen Edward Rogers.
Oh.
Yes. Trigger warnings. He was a total shit stain to society. Rape and murder.
Murder. Most devious.
Yes. And he had a special love for redheads.
Okay.
So,
I know a few people that have redheads.
Oh, yeah. We love redheads. I mean, I love redheads. I've got redhead friends and family.
I mean, like fetish. Like,
oh, people are, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's
like,
got
only want to date and sleep with redheads.
Well, yeah. Everybody's got their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Glen Edward Rogers was born on July 15th, 1962 in Hamilton, Ohio. His parents, Edna and Claude, had 7 children. Yikes.
Ooh,
I know.
That so poor many woman. Kids.
Yikes. Okay, so Claude was a moonshiner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he also had other work, but he was definitely a moonshiner. And prior to marrying Edna, she was a strict church-going woman. And I mean, like, she was raised in a very strict conservative environment.
Like the negative end of strict.
Yeah. But after they married, Claude made sure that all changed. she wasn't allowed to go to church anymore. Which, if a man is forcing you to not
do something or be who you are, that's not a good man.
Not a good sign. Red flag.
Yeah.
Now, after having 5 children, Edna and Claude tried to get a judge to approve her to get her tubes tied, which reading that made me go, what the fuck? Because, I mean, back
then they didn't want to do that stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. But the judge denied it, stating that her life was not in danger. I disagree. Yeah. So the very next child who was born was Glen Rogers, the subject of our story.
So we could have not gone with having a murderer had she had her tubes tied.
Exactly. So he ended up being quite possibly the most notorious serial killer to date. He has claimed 70 as his number, but that number can't be confirmed. Because, I mean, it's cross-country killer. He was all over the place. And this was back when nobody was sharing really yet.
Yeah, you could have anonymity and not be so popular in the world.
So his brother Clay, who's his older brother, took Glen on one of his first burglaries when Glen was about 8 years old and Clay was about 11. But they almost got busted and ended up jumping off the roof and escaping. And a couple days later, the boys were at the park and Glen said to Clay, "I'll be right back." And Clay watched Glen walk right into some lady's house. And she was literally standing like outside in her yard. And Glen grabbed the lady's money and walked right back out the door to his brother. Nothing happened. Yeah, it's crazy. The boys had a bond like no other, as, you know, brothers often do.
Yeah.
In 1973 to 1975, somewhere in there, I'm not really sure how all that worked out. The boys were arrested for 100 burglaries in 90 days. Like, I don't even understand how those numbers added up, but that's what it was.
I mean, we're doing a couple a day,
I guess. Yeah, it was because of this that Clay was sent to reform school and then went into the military. So his brother got sent away, but Glen was also sent to a reform school. But Glen's different than Clay. While he was there, he was allegedly sexually assaulted by the faculty. And I say allegedly because I really don't have evidence of it happening.
Right.
But I do know how common that is and was in reform schools, especially back then.
Yeah.
It was real fucked up back then.
People take advantage of people.
So when Glen got out of reform school, he heard that a girl he used to like back in school was in the hospital and that she had just had a baby. And that the hospital wouldn't let her check out without a man. Because
women can't do anything without a man.
Yeah, fucking fuck. So Glen went to the hospital and came back with Deborah and the baby. They got married and Glen adopted the baby and they had another child together in 1981. But the marital bliss did not last. And Deborah filed for divorce in 1983, citing physical abuse as the reason. And even Glen's family said that he would beat her if she didn't follow his rules, often putting her in the hospital. Like, he beat the shit out of her.
Such a upstanding young man.
Yeah. Like, he did a good thing by marrying her, maybe, I mean, I don't know, adopting the kid, and then he's just like a total shitbag.
Yeah.
I don't understand. One of the reasons I'm covering this case, though, is because it made me rethink my entire thought process about a very publicized case.
Oh.
Extremely public. And that case is the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman back in 1994. And for all the young folks out there, Nicole was O.J. Simpson's ex-wife. And if you don't know who O.J. Simpson is, look it up. Good grief. Catch up, people.
All I gotta say is white Bronco.
Yeah, seriously.
They're a what? What's with white Broncos?
Okay. So I have always thought that OJ was guilty. And he may be guilty, but not in the way that we thought, I guess. The reason I say that is because Glen Rogers has claimed that OJ hired him to break into Nicole's house to steal a pair of earrings that were apparently worth around 20 grand. And he says that OJ told him he, quote, may have to kill the bitch. But we will get back to this in a bit. Yes.
Interesting.
It'll all make sense. So, 1992, Hamilton, Ohio. Glenn picked up his brother Clay after he served 6 months in prison for who knows what. Glenn took Clay back to him and his girlfriend's house. Glenn started saying he was sick of the girlfriend and went to get a knife, stating he was going to stick her.
Ooh.
Fuck. Clay talked him out of it, but during that conversation, Glenn claimed he had already taken about 50 lives by that point.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and you know, Clay's like, do I believe him? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a large amount of people to kill.
Yeah. And so they just left and started driving on what his brother calls the road trip and burglarizing. And during their semi-permanent road trip, Clay had passed out drunk in a hotel. And Glenn left after he had passed out and came back in the morning covered in blood, and his clothes were all trashed. And at that moment, Clay tried really hard to go straight. Like he just split.
Yeah.
And was like, nope, I'm gonna get a real job. Gotta get away from you.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah.
It was smart to go the other way.
Things could have been very different if he had just jumped on board.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Clay was working in Covington, Kentucky late one night when Glenn showed up and yelled for him to come out. That he said he had someone he wanted Clay to meet. And when Clay went down there, Glenn opened the trunk and there was laying in the trunk a dead body.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a dead body in the trunk.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah. And apparently this wasn't the only time this type of thing happened. So, yeah. It's creepy as fuck. Now, sometime around 93 or 94, Clay went to stay at the cabin on the family farm for a bit after serving a couple months for a fight he had gotten into. Something like that.
It just sounds like he does petty crimes.
Yeah. His brothers just, and that's why I say get into that hillbilly mindset. It really is like bare backwoods. You know, the cabin, the family farm, that's up in the Appalachian foothills in Kentucky. It was way, way out there.
Yeah.
So
it's hills have eyes stuff.
Right. Yeah. I'm like the Ozarks. When he went inside the cabin, he noticed all the furniture had been moved to the back of the cabin, which was kind of weird. So he went back and started moving stuff to make it comfortable and usable for himself. And he went to pull up on this blanket and an arm flopped out. For real. And honestly, like if that had happened to me, I probably would have passed the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like for real. If an arm flopped out, I would have jumped with fright and just fainted. I don't faint normally, but
no. Heidi's got a pretty strong stomach.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't faint. I'd probably be like, oh shit, call 911. All right. So he then noticed a message that was written on the wall that basically said to get out because the shit was going to hit the fan soon. And so this body that Clay had found belonged to a man named Mark. And Mark was a friend of their mom who wanted to help her out by giving Glen a place to stay.
Oh.
But not, yeah. Mark disappeared not long after Glen.
Right. Oh, man.
Yeah. And so it was at this time that Clay finally decided to turn in his brother.
Okay. Which does know how to do some good things.
And I'm going to say this. A lot of people, this might sound bad. A lot of people in, I'll just say broadly, probably the Midwest, but really in this area and farther south from me, blood is thicker than water.
Right.
They, good God, stand by that. And it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
And that was like his internal battle. Like, he's my brother. But then he was like, I'm not turning, he stated in this documentary, that's not my brother anymore. He's a serial killer.
Wow.
Yeah. And of course, Glen had already left the area by this time.
Right.
Guess where he moved? Los Angeles.
Where anyone could get lost.
Yeah. So he was apparently hanging out with celebrities like Nicole Brown Simpson.
How do you just do that?
So we'll get into it. Apparently, Glen had been doing some work at Nicole's house after the Northridge earthquake that had wrecked the area.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
Yeah. May 3rd of 1994 was when that earthquake happened. And he had called his siblings and told them about this beautiful woman he had met named Nicole and how she was married to some famous football player, but he didn't follow sports, I guess. So he had no clue who
O.J. Simpson
was. No.
That's crazy.
But he did say that he was going to kill her. He told his siblings that.
Oh, lovely.
And on June 13th, 1994, the bodies of Nicole and Ron were found outside their home, or her home. And there was a witness.
You question my whole history now.
That's what happened to me. What? Okay. He's working for this company fixing homes. I mean, he has access.
Yeah.
He already has access. So I don't know if you remember there being a witness.
Yes.
That night. There was a witness who saw Nicole the night before she was found outside of her house, made eye contact with her and everything. This person was just like out walking their dog. And around the corner from her house on the side street, he saw a man who was not black and a white F-350 pickup truck, which Glen had access to through his work.
Interesting.
But somehow Glen wasn't really ever brought to the attention of anyone at the OJ trial. Not that I ever heard of anyway. Literally.
I never remember. No.
Yeah. And Nicole's sister said that there's no way it was him. Like she would know, but like, seriously, it makes sense. All of this makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because do you really think OJ is going to get his own hands dirty? Hell no.
Would he hire somebody?
Would he hire somebody?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And who better to hire than...
Yeah, I mean, we have to agree that he is still complicit.
He's still guilty.
Yeah.
Just not in the way I always thought.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. This sent me into a full like, what? So, 1995, Glen was laying low, living in Van Nuys, and using a fake name.
Good old Van Nuys.
On September 29th at McRed's Bar in Van Nuys, he met Sandra Gallagher. Sandra had been out celebrating her win of $1,200 in the lottery.
Oh, fun. That's cool. A good day.
And Sandra agreed to give Glen a ride home that night.
Mistake.
Big mistake. Within a few hours, very quickly, he raped and then strangled her to death within a few hours. And strangling deaths are, as we all know, extremely personal and take a very long time.
Yes.
They're
not like the movies, guys.
It's minutes.
Long time.
Yeah. And her body was found in a burning truck in a parking lot of a nursing home. And Glen, of course, skipped town because the police were actually onto him.
Right.
So, yay. At least they were onto him.
But onto him for what?
For that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For that specific crime.
Uh-huh. And I think maybe his brother turning him in.
Oh.
Back in Ohio, I think that maybe his brother told the detectives that he was in California and they had gotten in contact. Because at this point now, there is a standardized system that's national.
Yeah.
So now Glen headed east, ending up in Jackson, Mississippi. Mississippi. Every time I spell Mississippi, I go M-I-S-S-I-S-S-I-P-P-I.
I do M-I, crooked letter I, humpback. Or no, M-I, Mrs. Oh, we got to do 4 crooked letters.
Yeah.
So M-I, crooked letter I, crooked letter I, humpback I. My grandma Carnahan.
That is hysterical.
My grandma Carnahan, she helped me when I was like super little and just learning letters.
That's awesome.
She was like, this is how you're going to remember your S's and your P's. And I was all right.
It fucking stuck.
It did. It's there. A lot of things that she taught me stuck, which is good.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And those are such good memories to have. I love that.
Yeah.
So,
anyways,
back to the terribleness of the story. There's like no segue. So the Mississippi State Fair was in town. And so of course he's gonna go, right?
I guess you got to go to the state fair.
You got to go to the state fair.
Just got to go.
Yeah. Now this is where he met Linda Price. He saw her red hair and immediately told her that her hair was like the most beautiful hair he'd ever seen. And she was completely taken by him, which, ugh.
Was he a good-looking man?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It was because he had really bright blue eyes. And for the time, he had what I call very country hair.
You have a mullet?
A little mullety, but like not so short on top.
Right.
You know, feathered a little.
Oh,
anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, his eyes were what draw the women in. So that's what many people said, because there were friends of these people that knew him. And Linda unfortunately had a very bad past with men, and
she didn't make the best choices.
Well, I don't know that it's, well, yeah, but I don't know that it's totally that. I think that she wanted to be in love so bad that she fell for the charmers.
Yeah.
And the charmers
don't go for the charmers.
Just don't. It's not worth it. Oh, and according to everyone who knew her, she was absolutely the sweetest woman.
No.
And within a few weeks, they had signed a lease on an apartment together.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So Glen and Linda had gone out to a local bar with Linda's sister and her husband. But after a lot of drinking, Glen got angry because everybody was trying to tell him not to buy their drinks anymore. because he was just like throwing cash around.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was just not fun anymore.
Gotcha.
And so the two sisters got up and went to the restroom so they could talk because he was getting like really out of hand. And Linda's sister begged her to come home with her, but Glen started pounding on the door and yelling, "Don't tell her nothing." Like, yeah, yikes. So everyone just went home after that. And Linda's sister waited for her to call the next day, but never heard anything.
The call never came.
So her sister called and asked their mom to meet her at Linda's apartment. When they got there and looked through the window, the coffee table still had beer cans on it, which was not like Linda at all. She was a very neat person.
Cleaned up.
Oh, yeah. That, coupled with no answer to their phone calls or their knocking, they were extremely concerned. But at this point, the police wouldn't do anything because it was nothing. I mean, there was nothing they could do. It was only the next morning.
Yeah.
Since anybody
things have changed since
things have changed since then, but like yeah. So now this was around Halloween time, but on Halloween the family did the family trick or treat like they always did. But when they got to Linda's apartment, there was still no answer at the door. But still, according to the police, not enough time had passed for them to do a missing persons report. And it wasn't until November 2nd, 1995, 3 days after the family had last heard from Linda, that the police finally came to the apartment to figure out what was going on. And the maintenance man opened the apartment for the police, and they immediately knew something was wrong. The apartment was a complete disaster.
You probably smelled.
And there was blood on the floor and bloody towels. And Linda's body was found in her bathtub. Graphic, sorry. She had been stabbed multiple times and her throat was cut from ear to ear. And her face was covered with a washcloth. And it seemed to everyone that her body had been washed. And on the bathroom mirror, there was a note written in lipstick that read, "Glen, we found you." Like he's trying to
really
throw them off like anybody.
Wow.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Like what a piece of shit.
God.
Glen hit the road again, heading to Louisiana. And it was during this time that Glen's sister, and I did not recall her name, but I'm just going to kind of leave her name out of it, I guess.
Okay.
She got a call from him, and during this call, she could hear a slapping sound. And Glen was telling her to guess what he was doing.
Ew.
I know. And then he said he was slapping these. This is like the quote that she said, he said. She said, he said. Yeah. Slapping these girls' asses, and he told her that they were dead. Fucking disturbing.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, and he was like maniacal laughing.
Yeah, because he's a sociopath.
There's something very wrong with him.
Yeah.
So he told her the police hadn't even scratched the surface yet, and that he had killed around 70 already. Which, by the sounds of this man,
probably did.
I think that he did.
And he probably lost count, and he was averaging and could be more.
Yeah. He also said that she would start hearing about it soon. Like, what a fucking creep.
Oh.
So, pardon me if I say this wrong. Bossier City, but that's how they said it in the documentary.
There you go.
It's spelled like Bossier. But it's Bossier City, Louisiana. On November 3rd, 1995. Glen was hitting up bars in town. This seemed to be like his MO.
Yeah.
He would always meet somebody, like, with exception to the one at the fair, but like still
it was still
a party scene.
Hanging out. Yeah.
Right.
Still a public party scene.
Well, and they did, I think, have a bar there with dancing and stuff. So who knows? So he met a woman named Andy Sutton. Andy, also a redhead.
Mm.
Andy had been staying at her friend Teresa's house, and Teresa slept on the couch anyway. And so Andy had the bedroom. And the girls were out one night, and Andy saw Glen walk in, and she said something like, "Ooh, I like that."
Oh.
Yeah, like he walked in and she was like, "Hell yeah." Yikes, don't do it.
No.
So he stayed with them that one night, and the women both took him to the bus station the next morning. And he said he was headed to Tampa, Florida to buy a car. And before he left, he told Andy's friend Teresa to take care of his girl, which creeped her the fuck out.
Yeah, you just met the man.
Well, and that's the thing. Her spidey senses were like, oh, hell no, this guy's a fucking weirdo. She unfortunately was right.
Yeah.
So now we're going to Tampa, Florida, November 5th, 1995. Glen Rogers met Tina Marie Cribbs at a bar where she was hanging out with her girlfriends. And Tina agreed to give him a ride, and he was seen leaving with her.
No.
Tina's body was found by a hotel housekeeper in one of the room's bathtubs on November 7th, 1995. And she had been stabbed twice.
Mm.
And I feel bad for housekeepers. Seriously.
Oh,
housekeeping has to deal with some of the most disgusting shit.
So gross. People are so gross.
And this was like it was called the Tampa 8 Inn or something like that.
So it was kind of
it was a pretty shady
low.
Yeah. Sorry to that hotel, but whoa. So this complete piece of shit heads back to Louisiana, back to Andy Sutton.
Mm.
When he showed up, he handed her the keys to a car he supposedly bought for her after only knowing her for one fucking day. But that car was actually Tina Marie Cribbs' car, the woman that he had just murdered.
Right.
So Glen, Andy, and her friend Teresa went out, but Teresa had an altercation with Glen, where Glen grabbed her hair and started pulling it.
Mm.
Like reached across Andy and like dug into her hair and was like, yikes.
Not a good man, guys. Not a good man.
No. And Teresa had to leave for work. And before she left, she told Andy that he has got to go. Unfortunately, she agreed he could sleep off his drunkenness.
Oh.
Yeah. So Teresa woke up the next morning to Andy's ex-boyfriend knocking on the door. I guess they had been trying to get back together before she met Glen.
Uh-huh.
And so Teresa went to the bedroom and knocked because she knew that he was probably in there.
Yeah.
And there was no answer. So she went in, and there was blood all over the floor.
Mm.
And the bed cover was like tucked around what looked like a person.
Mm-hmm.
But she kept saying like, Andy, Andy, nothing. No movement, nothing. And so Teresa went and inspected further and found her best friend dead.
Mm.
And Andy did fight for her life. She had defensive wounds all over. The police did find a knife near the bed. Andy suffered multiple stab wounds and, as I said, lots of defensive wounds. And when the police talked with Teresa, she informed them that Glen's truck was still at the apartment complex.
Oh.
Yeah. So police ran his information through NCIC and got a hit. He was wanted for questioning in several different murders, in several different states.
Mm-hmm.
3 of which happened in 1 week. He was escalating very fucking quick.
Yeah.
So at this point, Hamilton, Ohio Police Department, Kentucky State Police, and the LAPD are all working together to hunt down Glen before he murders again. And there was also this reporter named Paul Schaefer who took a special interest in this case. He reached out to Edna, Glen's mom, asking her to beg him publicly to turn himself in, which she did. When Glen called his sister, though, she begged him to turn himself in, but he wouldn't do it because he said there was a shoot to kill order on him, which, I mean, not wrong.
Not necessarily wrong.
I would have shot his ass.
If he had turned himself in,
yeah,
things would have been different. But.
Yeah, exactly. Put your fucking hands in the air. Don't have a gun on you and turn yourself in.
Yeah.
And so he just went about his damn time drinking at the local bar down the road from the family farm in the Appalachian foothills of Kentucky.
Oh boy.
Now, this is where the cops found him, and he took off in his victim, Tina Marie Cribb's car.
Mm-hmm.
But was finally caught, which, by the way, was like a little Festiva. It's like a teeny tiny little car.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Imagine a car chase in that thing.
There was a car chase in that thing. And you can watch it because guess what? There's fucking footage everywhere. I'm going to. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Those cars.
So the cop,
I just thought of Mr. Bean.
I don't think I've seen that.
Oh my goodness. Well, his little show in the UK on BBC. It's just he's in a car, like this little tiny car driving around. That's what I think of when you say this man was in a Festiva driving around in a car chase.
Itty bitty. So this is where the cops found him, and he took off in the car, but was finally caught after a high-speed chase where police shot out one of the tires, and he ended up wrecking the car. Not a bad wreck, but still wrecked the car. Like,
yeah,
I can't.
I'm surprised they actually got the tire.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
Well, they were like blockaded. They were waiting for him because they knew where he was, what direction he was going.
Right.
So you can actually watch his arrest.
I'm totally gonna watch it.
Okay, you are going to be shook as fuck when you see him totally straight-faced as he's being arrested. It's
creepy.
Dude, the darkness in this guy.
Yeah.
Yikes. Everybody should watch it. But I'll give you the names of the shows also. So after his arrest, the detective who was working his case started receiving calls from law enforcement agencies all over the US and Canada with similar cases. So his MO was
the same.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
And even looking locally, he was connected to several unsolved cases as well. And after authorities searched the family farm, they did end up finding some hair and bones from other victims that were not they weren't part of the first body that they had found.
Right.
And now, thankfully, he's been arrested. Because, Jesus fucking Christ. This guy.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is this guy.
This guy.
He'll never see the outside of prison walls again unless he meets some dumbass like this chick we were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
What the fuck?
I think there's more precautions put in place for this one than that one.
So he was actually only tried for a few of these murders because once you get a death sentence, most states won't even go through the process because it's a waste of money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, he was found guilty in Florida first and was sentenced to death. And next was California, where he was also sentenced to death. So in the video of him hearing his sentence in Florida, which you, yes, can go watch that as well.
Nice.
He heard his sentence and was completely straight-faced. Didn't flinch, nothing. He just, he's just pure evil.
No emotions.
None whatsoever.
Yeah.
After Glen was locked up, a criminal profiler reached out to him. And after about 6 or 7 months of writing to Glen, he finally got a letter back. And he kept receiving more and more letters. He's got like hundreds of these letters.
Wow.
Yeah. In one of those letters, he retold a story from his childhood. When he was about 13, his dad used to take him to work with him, and his dad was a janitor, I guess. And he would often bring ladies to the basement at his workplace.
His dad?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And Glen said one of those ladies came up the stairs and called his mom a name. And Glen got mad and pushed this woman down the stairs. He could hear yelling afterwards, so he went and hid in a closet. Later, he and his dad disposed of the body and never spoke of it again, and he never went to work with his dad again. So he has stated that he's not sure if he killed her or if his dad killed her after he pushed her down the stairs, because there was yelling after.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it might have been he broke her neck and the lady was still alive, but the dad put her out of her misery.
Right.
And then they got rid of the body.
Yeah.
Dang.
I know. Well, and he was also an artist.
Who was?
Glen Rogers.
Oh.
He learned to paint in prison.
Well, art is therapy.
His art's really good, but real fucking spooky as fuck.
I don't like hearing that he has a talent in art.
I know. It's creepy.
That kind of makes me mad.
I was like, these are really good. So the follow-up to the Nicole Brown Simpson, Ron Goldman case, his story completely makes sense. And he even described the specific knife that he used, which matched the fucking wounds, and even painted a picture of the knife that he used.
Wow.
And sent it to this criminal profiler guy.
Uh-huh.
He described how he did it, which matches the evidence found at the scene.
Right.
And he said that OJ hired him and told him there was a spare key in the back of the condo. And this info was forwarded to the prosecutors in the OJ trial, but the confession and info has gotten backlash from Nicole's family, as I said earlier. But honestly, like, I really do think that OJ probably did hire him. Maybe not to steal some earrings, but probably just to kill her.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Didn't want to pay that alimony, probably.
And he was jilted lover.
So Glen's murder spree left at least 10 children without moms.
No.
Probably a lot more than that, because he was only for sure linked to a small number of cases.
Yeah.
And that's my case.
Wow.
Motherfuckers on death row.
I have so much to watch and look into now.
Yeah. So I bought the movie it's a documentary that was made with his brother and his sister. And detectives and stuff were also in this documentary.
Yeah.
So I have it in my Amazon Prime account. And it's called My Brother the Serial Killer. Oof. Pretty intense.
Yeah.
And they actually talked about how him and his brother, when they got a little older, they did end up finding like a serpent church, one of those churches.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
those are good.
He said that in this documentary, they summoned demons. And he said that Glenn said something along the lines of he wasn't scared of those demons because he already had one inside him. So, yikes.
He was born with one inside.
Right? Okay, so also on Discovery Plus, there's a show called Southern Fried Homicide, and it's real good.
Ooh, that sounds good.
And there's an episode, season 3, episode 2, called Smooth Talking Devil.
Nice.
And
I mean, seems like he had wooed a lot of women.
Yeah. And I also used Wikipedia, but like that much, just a little bit. Just for some little facts here.
Yeah.
So that's it. Oof. 70.
That was interesting.
Over 70.
Yeah, that's a lot of lives to affect.
Yeah.
Because you're not just affecting the victim.
Oh, no.
You have such a string of family members and loved ones that have less time with the victims now.
Yeah. And their poor kids.
So he's still in prison?
Mm-hmm. Still on death row.
Where?
Florida.
In Florida? Okay. Because that was the first place that.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yikes.
Stripes.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it because I don't like people.
I know. I've already said it in an episode.
I know.
I don't want him to come back at us.
Yeah. All right. So until next time, ta-ta.
For now.
Thanks for listening to Crime, Coffee, and Crafts. If you love our podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. This helps us more than you know. If you really love us and want to support us, go to our website at www.crimecoffeeandcrafts.com. From there, you can join our Patreon, shop our merch, and find us on social media.